The name at the center of Kenya's legal profession, Faith Odhiambo, has just been thrust into one of the most politically sensitive assignments of our time. President William Ruto appointed the LSK President as Vice-Chairperson of a newly gazetted panel of experts to compensate victims of demonstrations and public protests, a panel chaired by none other than Professor Makau Mutua. This is not just another committee, it is a political landmine dressed up as a technical exercise. Because here's the question, can you really put a price tag on years of police brutality, loss of lives, and destroyed livelihoods? Kenyans ask. In a Gazette notice dated August 25th, 2025, Ruto formally established a 14-member panel mandated to design a framework for reparations to victims of protests from 2017 to 2025. The scope is massive. From post-2017 election violence to the deadly 2023 tax protests to this year's anti-finance bill demonstrations, the government has given this team 120 days to report back, and at the heart of it is a balancing act, acknowledging state responsibility while maintaining political survival. The panel is chaired by Professor Makau Mutua, a man with a long history in Kenya's rights discourse and a close ally of opposition leader Raila Odinga. His appointment signals political compromise. Mutua brings credibility with the victim's side, but also carries political baggage from his long-standing criticism of Ruto. It is a delicate balance between justice and compensation. Enter Faith Odhiambo. As the president of the Law Society of Kenya, her elevation as vice-chairperson injects legal gravitas into the panel. Odhiambo is not new to speaking truth to power. She has previously challenged unconstitutional appointments and defended protesters in court. Her inclusion is strategic. It tempers public skepticism and reassures Kenyans that the process won't just be a state-controlled whitewash. Irungu Hilton, a leading human rights and social justice advocate, has already accepted President William Ruto's appointment to the panel of experts on compensation of victims of demonstrations and public protests. Through a statement released by Amnesty Kenya Board Chairperson Stella Bosire, the group welcomed the appointment of Hilton, who serves as the Amnesty Kenya Executive Director and spokesperson. Hilton's appointment comes despite his past criticism of the government and Ruto, particularly pointing an accusing finger at the executive for sanctioning police brutality prominent during protests. Through Amnesty, Hilton constantly voiced his criticism of police brutality and human rights violations by the government. In the past, critics of the president have been observed to shift alliances and become pro-government once they receive appointments to the government. In accepting Ruto's appointment, a similar pattern could perhaps be drawn. Other members include Kennedy N. Ogeto, who is the former Solicitor General, Dr. Duncan Ojwang, who recently rejected Ruto's appointment as chairperson of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, Naini Lankas, Dr. Francis Muraya, Juliet Chepkemei, Pius Meto, Fatuma Kinsi Abbas, and Raphael Anampiu. The technical team will be led by Richard Banu, supported by Dr. Duncan Okelon Deda as co-technical lead, while Jerusa Mwazime Michael and Dr. Raphael Ngetich will serve as joint secretaries. According to the notice, the panel's mandate will include designing an operational framework to verify and categorize victims, authenticating data from authoritative institutions such as IPOA, KNCHR, and the Ministry of Health, and recommending appropriate reparations. The team is set to submit comprehensive reports to the president after 120 days, with funding for the panel and compensation scheme set to be provided in line with the Public Finance Management Act and other applicable laws using auditable payment channels.
Through the shoot to kill and shoot in the leg orders can be the ones to again be responsible for redress and compensation of their own victims of police brutality. A wolf cannot decide matters of the cow crowd. The Swahili say, fisi hawezi kufanya kesi, kusimamia kesi ya mbuzi.
The rules of natural justice demand impartiality, victims cannot trust a process led by a presidential appointee whose loyalty is now to the state. The same state that was the aggressor in the Azimio protests 2023, in the Gen Z protests 2024, and in the recent Sabasaba protest.
This appointment didn't come from a vacuum. Raila Odinga has long demanded compensation for victims as part of negotiations with Ruto. From the infamous Maandamano days to the finance bill resistance that shook Kenya mid-2025, thousands of families have scars, physical, emotional, and financial. By conceding to this panel, Ruto is not just addressing justice, he's also playing high-stakes politics.
There is no budgetary allocation. You cannot therefore jump up and say we'll pay Kenyans, they like to say 100,000 or 10 million. The amount that they will have to pay so that this country will be committed to constitutional order and conduct will be punitive. There's such a thing in law as punitive damages, including those people who committed these atrocities.
Extending it through to 2025 covers not only Uhuru Kenyatta's last years in office, but also Ruto's turbulent presidency. It is an admission that protest casualties are not a partisan issue. Both governments have blood on their hands. But here's the catch. 120 days? That is 4 months to assess nearly a decade of protest-related violence, quantify damages, and propose a compensation mechanism. Legal experts already doubt whether the panel can deliver something concrete in that time. But perhaps delivery isn't the point. Perhaps the symbolism is what matters here.
To see someone who killed your son walking freely and still working. And it pains me so much that even when the evidence is so clear, is still denying it.
Mimi ningesema hata tukifuata justice, sijui kama hata tutaipata justice, but tuna seek hiyo justice mpaka ipatikane. Na hiyo mambo ya compensation wanasema bado tutakubali juu hawezi kataa juu life yetu ilisharudi nyuma. Si kama venye tulikuwa hapo.
Compensation will not be accepted as a substitute for justice. If the Professor Makau Mutua committee wants the support of these families and other institutions, it must speak boldly and clearly that this is not hush money, that this is not blood money, and that this is not an attempt to silence the demand for justice and accountability.
Kenyans are divided. Some see this as genuine progress, a chance for long ignored victims to finally be acknowledged. Others dismiss it as political theater. Faith Odhiambo's presence could make the difference, but will it? If she insists on transparency, independence, justice and accountability, maybe the panel could surprise skeptics. This is where Kenya is today, a government forced to reckon with its own past, opposition pressure shaping state policy, and a legal profession finding itself in the middle of it all. Faith Odhiambo's appointment is more than ceremonial. It is a test of whether justice for protest victims can be more than words and money on a page. And in that test, Kenya will be watching closely. What do you think? Drop your comments. Newsroom, Maisha TV, Bushabi Jr.